And what is up, everybody? It is Chris Akin back with another live edition of Chris Akin Presents, and that over there is not Eric Ferentinos. Eric is out on the road. Stephen Piercy is playing a week's worth of dates, and he is out there touring, doing a little touring with Stephen and with Vince Neil, but doing our best Vince Neil impersonations, two fat guys, myself and Jon Drake. Jon, how are you, man?
I'm awesome, man. How's it going? Good to be here again.
It's good, man. Everything is good, and this is an exciting one, man. We're bringing back the time machine. We're going back in time to what I think everybody that is our age thinks is the best time in metal. That time being, of course, when we had the Headbangers Ball, man. It was
Fuck yeah.
Such a great time, and everybody knows the host of that show was Mr. Riki Rachtman, beloved. I don't think most people really remember the time before Riki. I don't think most people adopted the Jamie Josta time after Riki. You know, I think that Riki's time was the premier time for it. He is out on the road doing his one-man show, which we are going to find all about. He's got a slew of dates that he just added for this thing, and he's been really all over the world promoting it, which I'm interested to find out about as well. So we're not even going to waste time. It's not like a normal show where we dick around for a half hour before we get to it. Right now, we're just going to bring him right on. Mr. Riki Rachtman. Riki, how are you, man?
Well, we're still going to dick around. I'm just
right.
Now it's 3 minutes, so there you go.
Well, welcome to the show, man. It's great to talk to you. And I'm going to say, before we even talk about what it is, I'm happy to see that you are out there and doing this and telling stories and letting old fucks like us relive our past, man. It's very good.
It has been, honestly, considering you guys have to realize that, 10 months ago, I never did a show. I didn't have the inkling of doing this. And this is, I've said it's not a dream come true because I never dreamt of something so cool. But one of the things that I've noticed is, which is really, really great, is the different ages of people that go to the show. It's not just people of our demographics. It's a lot of people from all ages, of all walks of life. And I could sit here and tell you this is the greatest time. These shows are so cool, and I love seeing all these people, because you've heard every band say it, but I'm telling you, honest to God truth,
Sure.
I love this. I love this.
Well, and probably some of the excitement to it is, now you get to be what you used to talk about. I mean, you're most famous for talking to bands about doing just this. And now here you are as the guy in the spotlight now, no?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, back in the 80s, I ran, and humbly I will call the Cat House the greatest rock and roll club in the world. And the only people that don't think it was the greatest rock and roll club in the world never went there.
Right.
But people didn't go to the Cat House to see Riki Rachtman. And they didn't watch Headbangers Ball to see Riki Rachtman. They went to Cat House because of the girls or the bands or the atmosphere. And they watched Headbangers Ball because they wanted to see their favorite bands. And then, I went into radio and talk radio and all these different jobs. And this show, when I go out there and I see like people there, it's like, wow, you guys came to hear me talk. And this show is not what people expect. And the greatest thing is that it's been getting, which I'm even surprised sort of, that it's getting incredible reviews, like from everybody. And that, when it's something that I put 100% in, like there's no writer, no director, no producer, no editor. I wrote the whole thing. So if I'm doing something now that people enjoy, then that really, really makes me feel good, because I know there was things on Headbangers Ball that people didn't like. And if you didn't like the videos that were played on the show, sometimes that had nothing to do with me. If you didn't like the way I was, okay, then that had everything to do with me. But the shows have just been incredible. And, I'm wrapping it up with my final 8 shows right now.
Sure. Now, I heard a mutual friend of yours and mine, Joshua Toomey, in Nashville, he went to your show, and he told me that you had told him ahead of time, it'll be an hour 15 minutes, and then it was like 2.5 hours.
Well, the first show I did was in Charlotte, and the problem with that show was like there were like 600 people there.
Right.
So I thought, wow, this is what's going to happen at every single show. It didn't happen since. But the first show I ever did was 3.5 hours. And I went off stage and I was like, I can't do that. Like, I remember when people said like they saw Rollins play and he played for 3 hours. I'm like, who can watch somebody talk for 3 hours? So I edited the show quite a bit, but it's still about 2.5 hours. And there's like a little 10-minute intermission in the back. But I keep on thinking like, okay, I got to edit this show down. I don't have to do 2.5 hours. If I did an hour and 15, people would be happy.
Sure.
But I don't know what to take out because there's so much stuff. And even through touring and even through talking to friends of mine, I keep on getting more and more stories that I forgot about. Like, I went to go see Cold Chamber play last night, and Dez, who's the singer of Cold Chamber and singer of Devil Driver, Dez comes up to me. He's like, dude, I remember you gave me my first job when I was 17 years old. I worked at the Cat House. I was your bar back, and we used to take sandwiches to Guns N' Roses because they didn't have any money. I'm like, oh yeah, forgot. Now it's like, do I put that Dez story in? And it's just like so much stuff keeps happening that it's a long show. And for the longest time I was like, God, can people sit there for 2.5 hours? I'm like, well, I do it every night. Yes, they can.
Right.
And if people were walking out, then obviously I'd make some changes, but they're not.
Right.
So, real quick, I'm going to get my fanboy moment out of the way here and then get to a question I wanted to ask you. But, dude, I in the late 80s when you were doing the Headbangers Ball, I was like 11, 12, 13, like, and all them videos and shit is how I learned to teach myself guitar and bass and drums, and I've been a musician ever since. And some of my all-time favorite memories as a kid were waiting for my dad to go to bed because he did not want me listening to hard rock, heavy metal. And I'd be like, yeah, I'm just going to play some, Nintendo or some shit. And I'd be waiting a little bit till I knew he was asleep, hear him snore. And then it was like, turn the TV on, get up real close so I didn't have to put it up loud, and fucking Headbangers Ball, man. It was the best. So
two things. First of all, thank you. Okay, 3 things. And the biggest misconception is I wasn't on TV in the 80s. I started January 1990. I had done a couple fill-in spots, or not even a fill-in spot, like a guest spot on Adam Curry's show.
Right.
But everyone's like, dude, I used to watch you in the 80s. I was like, do what? Because Headbangers Ball started in the 90s.
No shit.
But the 80s went till about 94, let's be honest.
Yeah.
So it's still in the 80s. And, one thing that we don't have these days is something like that is, we used to go, when people go up and tell me, I used to sneak into the room and people have a story how they consumed the Headbangers Ball. Mm-hmm. And for some of these people, it was like one of their acts of rebellion. They would go in the room, they'd hide from their parents. They would, they weren't allowed to watch it. I was like that, when people tell me that, that's like the nicest thing you can hear, because you don't have that today. Because like, I'll go see a band play and I'll see parents and their kids in the pit,
Yeah.
So it's such a different thing. But, it makes me feel better than if, people said, dude, I used to watch you in the 90s. Me and my mom would sit together and watch the Headbangers Ball, which we get that too, which is pretty cool. But I like that we were like what young kids' form of rebellion, back in early 90s.
Sure. Yeah. Well, getting back to the show that you're doing right now, I mean, as you said, like, you hadn't done a show until 10 months ago. So this is very, very new for you. So what was that creative process like to come up with this? Was it literally just, I'm going to get up there and tell stories and come up with a list, or was there more to it than that?
It's sort of, my whole life pretty much, I've always wanted to be on stage. And when you're hanging out with this small group of people, and everybody in my small group wants to be on stage, and then they become Guns N' Roses and Faster Pussycat, and you see all your friends are like huge rock stars. And I always go to shows and said, like, God, I would love to do that. And I like to talk. Obviously, I like to talk. And I've told people some of the stories that a lot of people don't know about. When I was a drug dealer, when I went to jail for fighting a couple times, and what happened when I lost everything and was broke. And of course, Alice in Chains in the Water Park, and Axl and David Bowie, and all these stories. And people are like, why don't you write a book? And I'm like, yeah, I'll probably get to it one day. And then I figured, what do I just tell people these stories? And the way I do things, like, I don't like to do anything like halfway. So I did it, and then I started adding video, and then I started adding slides, and then that was nostalgic but wouldn't alienate anybody. And, the stuff that they want to hear about, metal and other stuff in pop culture and life that goes all the way up until now. There's a lot of things that I've done that are like, there's things that I say on stage that I would never tell people. Like, it's like, things that are very embarrassing. But when I'm on stage, I don't mind telling it. So when I did the first show, it was like, wow, I'm sitting backstage in my own dressing room. This is I get to pick what gets backstage, and I have my own tour shirt. And I was like, wow, this is the coolest thing. And then when I got offered 4 dates and I did my first out of town show in Cleveland, it was sold out, and then got added, 8 days, and then 17 days, and then 4 in Australia, which blows my mind. And then, wrapping it up to we're in the 30s now. And it's still, it's so incredible. Like I just got the tour t-shirt. I even like saying that. I got a tour t-shirt. And so last night we were watching GWAR, and there was somebody that had a GWAR concert shirt on. And I was looking at and I told my wife, I'm like, look at that. Imagine if we did that. And she counted all the dates, and it was 37. It was the same amount of dates that I've done. I'm like, holy crap. Like I've actually been on tour, and it's been difficult and it's been fun. And the truth is, after this LA show, I have no idea what's next. And also to create something new and be on tour in a van at my age, it's like people don't do stuff like that. I'm supposed to be relaxing, and instead, I've got a 900-mile drive from where's the 900-mile drive? It's from Houston to Tucson, I think. 900 miles. I sold my car and bought a damn minivan so I could do this tour.
Driving 60 miles an hour, right?
Right.
In the
minivan. But I know this is going to sound weird, but as far as minivans go, it's kind of a cool minivan. It's like that battleship gray with black.
You're trying to justify. Stop it.
Halfway through that discussion, Chris, I was starting to talk about it, and I'm like, just stop, Ricky. Just stop. I'm trying to tell everybody how cool your minivan is. And it's lame. And it's like, but that's I can't have a garage full of cars, so I sold a Porsche to get a minivan, so I can go on tour. And that's my only car now.
Nice. Go ahead, John.
So do you find yourself with this show, as you've gotten more and more comfortable, do you find yourself slipping into stories you might not have planned to tell because you're getting so comfortable doing it? Do you just find yourself all of a sudden, oh shit, I blurted this out, I guess I got to roll with it?
Absolutely. I mean, I've said shows. I remember one show that was in St. Charles, I believe, Illinois, which is this really cool place called the Club Arcada, I think. And I was doing a show there, and somebody had said something about Nikki Sixx, and I'm like, don't get me started. And blah, blah, blah. And then I started telling these stories about Nikki, and I'm like, oh my God, why am I telling this story? This is so wrong. And then I just said, fuck it. I just kept on telling the stories, and things go like, I don't want people to be interactive. It's not like yelling every sentence or guess who I'm talking about, but sometimes things happen, and I like to roll with the punches, and I like to see where it's going to go. And sometimes things go in different directions, as people will see when they go to the show. And I think people are going to be surprised, because it is, I mean, there's parts of the show that are almost like a play. I'm sitting in my room discovering, Deep Purple Machine Head, and talking about the first time I saw the Motley Crue Live Wire, and buying an album cover with a pentagram, and all these things. Talk about all that stuff and kind of act it out as a kid. And then I talk about all the stuff that happened with the Cat House and Guns N' Roses and MTV and everything after.
Right on, man. Well, Ricky, doing this and telling your stories, I've written books, and I've written personal books about myself. And like you, I blurted out way too much shit, way too much stuff that I've been called on for that. What have you blurted out that you wish you could pull back, that you wish, oh man, I wish I didn't have that out there? Anything?
Yeah, but I'm not going to tell you.
I was going to say, he's not going to repeat it.
Not going to put it back up there?
Here's the thing. I mean, I will tell you that August 13th is going to be the difficult show for me, because it's in Hollywood, where everything started, where I grew up. And there's people in the audience that were part of all my stories. Okay. And there was one band in particular that I checked to see if they were on tour, because I hoped they were, because I kind of would have felt weird if one of the guys was there. But, It doesn't matter. I mean, I'm not pulling any punches. I know the Hermosa Beach show my parents are going to be at. And here I'm talking about crystal meth and porn star girlfriends, and my parents are sitting there. But they know some of it, and I'm not going to pull anything back. I mean, the truth is, if I'm telling the truth, it doesn't matter.
Right.
I'm not there to talk smack about anybody, because I found, I mean, in the very first show I did, the 3.5 hour show, I said some pretty ruthless things about people. And even though it was kind of like really messed up what these people did, I didn't get anything out of it. And I looked at the audience and they were like, oh, but they'd rather hear like the funny stories. And, you know, to hear people laugh is really cool. And so there's things that I left out, but there's some stories and people that are in some of these stories that you would never guess in a million years are mentioned in my show. I mean, most people wouldn't think that the singer of Devil Driver was my bar back, you know?
Right.
So there's just a lot of, and it's not like, ooh, look at me, look at the life I've had. It's just, I'm realizing like I'm basically Forrest Gump. It's like I just happen to be living in all these places that unfortunately I didn't realize how cool it was. Like, we always think about the Sunset Strip and Hollywood scene. That was the coolest thing of all time. And it was really cool. But what you have to understand is it was how we were living. Like,
right.
This is just like, wow, you guys get to go out and get drunk and meet girls every night. Yeah, that's cool. But that's what we did, like, all the time. And it was just, that was it. We didn't realize, we didn't realize that we lived in such a magical time, and absolutely didn't realize that it was only a short, like, you know, that
Sure.
94-ish or something, things are going to slow down, which is, it's good it did, because we all would have been dead.
Right.
But it's pretty incredible. And, you know, I find things because I didn't take pictures. Hey, take a picture of this band. I really didn't do that very often. But I recently just found a book that I had that when I was doing, I think it was a radio show or a Headbangers Ball, that I just said, hey, sign this when you sit down. I started looking at it. I'm like, oh my God, like, you know, Dimebag and all these different, I mean, so many people were signing this book. And I was like, I forgot all about this. You know, it's just, I've been very, very blessed to be in just some incredible moments.
You know, and that's, you know, and again, this is just fanboy me saying this, but I think that's the charm of you, which makes you still relevant today. Because if you would have gone, I don't know, the Eddie Trunk route, and I'm not pointing at him as a negative, but Eddie Trunk sells Eddie Trunk always. And you've never been that guy. You've always been like, well,
I don't know about that.
I don't think you ever were really, I mean, you never were like, hey, it's a Headbangers Ball with me, goddammit. I mean, you were never that guy.
But I'm the first one to post on social media, buy a Riki Rachtman's Cat House shirt.
Yeah, okay, but
No,
that's
I
one
know,
thing.
I know.
You know.
And you guys are being very, very cool. But, you know, while people are watching these shows saying, well, I know there were a lot of haters, I'm the first one to say that I know that I did and still have a lot of haters, because of whether it was my hair or whether it was how can I play Slaughter if I like Slayer and vice versa. So I took a lot of crap that I wasn't deserved, and I took a lot of crap for certain things that I did deserve. But the one thing is, I hope that I've never, ever, there's one word that I never use, and I've never described anybody. I mean, I have people that have gone to 5 shows. I've got people that have got Riki Rachtman tattoos, OFITG. One girl's got one foot in the gutter, one fist in the gold, tattooed on her forearm. That's her only tattoo. But
Nice.
I've never, ever called anybody a fan.
Right.
Because I'm on the same level as everybody else. And I know that sounds really like, yeah, bull. But I do these things before my shows called BFIs, where 12 people get to come before the shows, and we hang out, we sit at a table. I'll take pictures if you want. I'll sign whatever you want. And we just kind of hang out. And I know that there's certain bands that don't like doing these, quote, meet and greets, which mine isn't. I just hang out with you. We just hang out. There's 12 of us. We hang out at a table. And when I leave that and then I get into my dressing room, I'm like, yeah, let's go. Because there's people that hey, if there's people that showed up early and that are happy to meet me, that makes me feel really good. So when I'm sitting there, I can't wait to get on stage and share with these people. So, you know, I mean, it's not all hippity dippity shit, but it's still, when you get that positivity of people that appreciate what you did or have questions, it makes you feel good. And the reason I've never said, but like I could say, like, I really want to thank you fans for showing up. When I hear somebody say that, it's like, you fans, like you're down there. It's like, look, we're here, you know. I go to see shows like you go to see shows. I've had some great jobs. I've had, you know, but we're here. And I've always not tried to give that attitude out. It's just the way I truly, truly am. You know, I tell people, and this happens all the time, that I'll get things like, dude, I saw you at so-and-so and I didn't want to bug you. Listen, if you see me somewhere, and as long as I'm not eating or taking a shit, okay, or pissing, I'm not going to the bathroom and I'm not eating, please say, dude, I like that episode on Headbangers Ball or this. I love that stuff. People think that I don't like it. It doesn't happen like it used to, but when it happens, I love it. It makes me feel good. You know, it happened at the show a bunch of times last night, and I love that. So I've always felt like I'm just a rock fan. I just had a camera in front of me or a microphone in front of me.
Right on.
That kind of leads into something that I wanted to ask you about, because you mentioned the VFI package that you're doing on the tour. Very fucking important. And what I think it's $150, isn't it? Isn't that the cost? I think I saw that. So, you know, a lot of these bands are doing these paid meet and greets these days, and obviously on the road, and you're on tour, as you said. You know, that is a way to make the money on the road. You know, for bands, it makes up for lack of record sales and all that. But I mean, you do have touring costs, and you charge $150 for these things. But you made the decision to cap this at 12 people per show when you could easily sell more.
Every other show except for these have always been 10. I just added it to make it 12. It's always been 10, and they were sold out, and I made it at 12. And understand that when I charge $150, not only do we hang out before the show, but they also get a tour T-shirt. They get a poster from the very first show signed. Mm-hmm. They get a good seat. We hang out. They get a laminated pass. I mean, I'm still spending money getting them things because I felt guilty. You know, my shows are $25. Yeah. I felt guilty doing this kind of stuff. But the truth of the matter is, there is no chance in hell I would have been able to do this. Venues take a percentage of my merchandise sales, and people know, I've owned CatHouseHollywood.com, that I sell Cat House shirts, Headbangers Ball shirts. I've been doing that for years, and I've always kept my prices low. And then when I go to a venue and they want like 20% of my merch, I'm like, holy crap. So I've got to find ways. Something I did on this show that I was very, very wary of doing was, and there's two reasons why I did it. I did something called the Road Crew, and I sold one pass for each show. And I said, for $250, you're going to show up right when you load in. You're going to help us load in. You're going to help me switch stuff, put my stuff on the stage. You're going to get to introduce me. You're going to have dinner with me, Leah, and Karen. Cool. And you're going to be road crew, and you can watch the show from wherever you want. And there's a couple reasons. Is like, everybody's like, you mean people are going to pay to work on your show? I'm like, look, we carry in a couple things of T-shirts. I have a mic stand. It's not really that much. And we're just going to, it's just me and this guy or girl working the whole time. And with the exception of Tucson, which had to get returned, Tucson's the only one that has one of those available. And I buy dinner for them. We're sitting and eating dinner, and it's just me and the two other people that work with me. And they're going to be on the road crew. And everybody's like, oh my God, that's the stupidest thing you could do. And the reason I did it is, yes, it pays. It pays expensive. But also, I don't have to find somebody road crew. And all it is like, at intermission, turn my set list and tape it on the monitor. Or, help with this. It's not work. And it's hanging out. And it's great. It's like, it's fun. I've heard from so many people that have gone to bands meet and greets. And that's why I wanted to call it VFI instead of meet and greet. Is they go to bands meet and greets and they spend all this money and they take a picture like, click, next. Click next. Yeah. I mean, there was one band that did it behind plexiglass. I'm like, oh, like you're going to, whether you like it or not, understand if you get my VFI pass, you're going to get in there a half an hour before doors open, and we're going to be sitting and I'll take any pictures you want. I'll sign whatever you want, and we're just going to hang out. You can ask me. It could be a Q&A, and 12 people is 2 more than I've done for any other shows. It was always 10.
And that was going to be. Yeah, that was going to be my question. Like, obviously, you could sell more of these, so you could make more money, but you're not doing that. You're capping it. So, talk a little bit about that, because there's not. I don't know any bands that are doing that. They're gonna, as many people that will buy it, that's how many they're going to sell. And you are not going that route.
If you're sitting at a table with 30 people, it's not the same. You know, when
True.
you're sitting with like a dozen people, it's like the way we are right now. We're just hanging out. We're just talking. We're just doing this. We're doing that. You know, I mean, there's a lot of people that follow me on social media, and I meet these people, and they're like, oh, yeah, this. And they're like, oh, check out this picture when I got to meet, you know, this person. And we're just sitting at a table. And if I had more than 12, and let's be honest, there's also shows where they haven't sold out yet, that there are tickets for avail. It isn't easy to sell tickets these days for anything, especially something they don't even know what it is. And but if I had more than 12, it wouldn't have been the same. You know, it wouldn't have been the same. Like for Hollywood, I didn't even have a road crew, even though I could have, because they all sold out instantly, because I didn't want to worry about making sure this person has fun. I don't know if that makes sense or not. It's like at every show, if you pay $250 for a road crew, I personally want to make sure that you're having a good time and you leave. I mean, people can say whatever they want about me, and I've heard it all. But if you go to my show, you are going to have a good time. You're going to leave and say, I doubted it. I mean, I've had people that weren't even into metal that said they had a great time. And that's pretty flattering as well. The trip is when I went to Australia, which I love that country, and I sold out Sydney. And I was on stage and I said, do you guys get Headbangers Ball? And they're like, no. I'm like, you didn't get Headbangers Ball in Australia. They're like, no. I'm like, what the hell are you doing here? Like, why are you here? And because they'd heard of the Cat House, and they always wondered why, you know, whenever they looked in certain albums, my name was always in it. And the Cat House legacy, believe it or not, is definitely worldwide.
Oh yeah.
And it was stuff like that. So Australia was really fun. It was really, really fun. Like that, I never, ever would have imagined.
Right on, man. Well, Ricky, let me ask you a couple questions, not necessarily related to the show, but just in general things. You returned to TV of sorts with the documentary of Class Action Park. What do you remember about that, and do you remember it being at all this crazy, dangerous, someone's going to die moment that they portrayed it as?
I will tell you this. I found a video of all the raw footage that was sent that day. It was unedited, and I talk about that in my show, because that show, you know, when you think, what was your favorite show? It was when Ricky was with Dio. Oh, it's got to be Hanging Metallica or Slayer or Skid. No, people's number one episode of Headbangers Ball was Alice in Chains at the water park, because it was what I do best. I goof around. I don't really care who the engineer of your album was or the producer. I want to have fun. I want to find out who you are, and we'll talk about music. I mean, that's the biggest difference you can see in the Headbangers Ball that I hosted in the first 2 years, when I had cards, and then I was like, when I listen to a record, I don't want to know where it was engineered. I want to hang out with these guys and go bowling with Chris Cornell, or get on a boat with Metallica or whatever. So the water park was crazy, and it was not until I saw the movie Class Action Park that I knew that this was a place that people died. And I remember sitting on a chairlift with, I don't know if it was Jerry or Lane, and we're going up this chairlift, and there's a water slide that had a loop on it. And I was like, and they're like, no, that's closed down because somebody broke their nose. I'm like, who the hell makes a water slide with a loop in it? Like, so I did research on Action Park and research on that loop, and I tell all that stuff in my show. So it's that kind of stuff. And I have footage of the Alice in Chains water park, because that is a show that so many people liked. Sure. And it's my favorite. I mean, if you say what was my favorite episode of Headbangers Ball, yeah, it was really cool meeting, Dio and meeting, Brian Johnson and Angus Young. But the most fun I ever had was the water park with Alice in Chains. So I go in, I talk about that a lot in my show.
Cool.
So you weren't stupid enough to ride any of that shit then, correct?
Oh, wrong. I wrote it all. I did everything. Right. The one thing we didn't do was the Alpine slide, which I'm very. Now, did you guys ever go to Action Park?
It was closed, but I've read a book about it. I've seen a couple different documentaries on it, so I'm pretty familiar with all that stuff.
It's ridiculous. It's absolutely amazing. I mean, this alpine slide, like everybody would go on these rides and they'd get these scrapes, these big gnarly red scrapes, and then jump in the pool and it's like
Yep.
So thank God the alpine slide wasn't open at the time. But I've got some footage of what we did in those rafts that you're like, holy crap. And it just shows like I'm not a guy that was, I mean, I jumped out of airplanes on Headbangers Ball. I'd do anything on Headbangers Ball to make the show fun.
Right.
And
Definitely.
we took advantage of Action Park.
Right on, man. Well, dude, you tried to bring back the ball 2 years ago, I guess it was 3 years ago. I'm going to be honest. I was excited about it, except for that you couldn't find it. It wasn't on. It just seemed like it was done wrong. And that's, again, looking back, because I listened to the first episode, the one episode that you did, and I was like, okay, when is the next one? No one knew. What happened there?
People stop me all the time and say, you should bring back Headbangers Ball. And what people don't understand, it's frustrating when people always say, like, bring back Headbangers Ball, not knowing that nobody wants a Headbangers Ball back more than I do. And I've said many times, I'll do it for free. I don't care. I just like doing that show. So I decided I talked to there was an app called Gimme Metal.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And no surprise, it's not around anymore. But I said I wanted to do a show called The Ball. And I wanted to pick every video, which also irritated some people because it wasn't the videos that they thought I would be picking. I mean,
Sure.
I tried to play a little bit of everything, but there were a lot of new bands that people hadn't heard of, and a lot of heavy stuff. And I got to pick all the guests. So I'd have, Mickey D from Motorhead, Mark Morn from Lamb of God, the guys in Death Angel, Brian Posehn. I mean, I would do all these shows and I would pick every video. And then I would take a phone and have my wife film it while I would cut intros. And we did crazy stuff. Like we would do stuff called the Cartoon Pit, where it was me and my wife wearing skeleton onesies, and we would eat breakfast cereal, and we'd talk about and we'd play a cartoon video, a video that was animated. And then I did stuff called Reverend Ricky, where I was in front of a church in a reverend outfit, and I would take a lyric and say it like it was a sermon, like, whatever,
Right.
I did Walk Pantera. And I did goofy shit all the time. But I did all of it. So I was editing it, and what takes some people a day to edit takes me like 5 days to edit, and it's still crappy. But I was such a perfectionist because I wanted this show to be so good. And you know what? The show was good, but I can't post it because of the music videos. But I have a feeling that I'm going to do it anyway. As long as just put it up there and just put the ball. It was right before I cut. And that was the other thing. Like everybody talks about my hair. When I did the ball 2 years ago, my hair was like down to here. It was just as
Right.
long as it was back in the Headbangers Ball days. I just got fed up with it because I ride motorcycles all the time, and I just cut it off and decided to have a 50-something-year-old mohawk. And but the ball was fun, and the ball was good, and I might just start posting them or something because the show was good, and I think the music was good, and sometimes it was songs that I didn't necessarily like. But it was the Headbangers Ball. I mean, there is no doubt it was headbanger heavy metal music, without a doubt. And It was so fun. But you're doing stuff, and I've had a lot of jobs that I've put a lot of effort into. And the way I know is when people say, yeah, I really liked you on the Cat House Hollywood podcast, or I really liked you when you were in that show, whatever that show is. I forgot what it's called, but it's on Paramount right now.
Okay. That narrows it down to about 1,000.
It's a brand new show.
Okay.
It talks like a bunch of, and I don't use the word hair metal. I hate that freaking word.
Right.
But it's those type of bands. And I got interviewed, and people say, oh, I saw you on that show. It was really cool. And the show, they did a great job on that show. But there's also shows that I've been on, and that like I don't ever get stopped and say, dude, I saw you on Access TV.
Yeah, right.
So it just goes to show me the things that people watch. And the ball was great, but it didn't do anything.
Yeah, that's
And the main reason, like what you said, Chris, is it was just too hard to find. You couldn't see it. And it was, I mean, like we'd sit there when it was on, and we would put, I'd have it on my phone and stream it on my phone to my TV, because nobody wants to sit and watch a 2-hour show on their phone.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
But I tried. I really tried.
Oh yeah. Well, if you ever want to bring it back, I do have a TV network or a little streaming TV network. I'd be glad to put it on. It's
But the problem is you can't get the rights.
the licensing. Yeah, the licensing is always a nightmare, especially digital. For some reason, you play it on the radio all day long and nobody complains, but you stream it. And
Because the radio. Well, here's the other thing: nobody listens to radio anymore.
that's true too.
I mean, I heard cars are coming out and they're not going to have radios in them.
Yeah, just have like a
That's
Bluetooth
not
or whatever.
Sirius XM.
Yeah.
I mean, I will tell you, when I do Eddie Trunk Show,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm actually doing Wednesday.
Okay.
When I do Eddie Trunk Show, people talk to me all the time. And, oh, yeah, I heard you on Eddie's show. I heard you on Eddie's show. So even though Eddie and I listen to, I mean, I think we couldn't be more opposite.
Sure.
But that's in no way an insult, because when I do my shows, he could have totally said, no, I don't want Riki Rachtman on my show. But when I go out on road to promote my shows, he always lets me on his show.
That's cool.
And he's really cool. And, we like different types of music. We like a lot of the same music, but I tend to be into more heavier stuff than he is.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And he's, the way I say it is like, Eddie is really good at what he does. And Eddie studied broadcasting, and Eddie was in the radio, and Eddie did all these things, and he does a great job. And I woke up in the gutter with piss on myself. That's my resume. I was never professional, but anybody that's out there talking about hard rock is good.
Yep.
There, you got Jose Magnin, and you've got Mark Striegel, and you've got all these people
Sure.
that I believe, Mark Striegel was very helpful in talking about my show, and he showed up at my show at the Starland Ballroom, which was, and he was just a great guy. So, I like anybody. I like you guys because you're talking about my show. Anybody talking about my show, I like.
Very good, man. Well, Riki, obviously, man, the show is 1 foot in the gutter. There's 8 or 9 shows left.
Well, what I'm going to do now,
all right,
is put on my old man glasses.
There we go.
And that's what you guys look like. No, maybe I better take them off.
Yeah, maybe take those off again.
Let me put you full screen so you don't have to look at us. Here you go. There you go. Is that better?
No, because I'd rather look at you guys than look at me. It's like whenever I do stuff like on social media or stuff, like I don't put makeup on. I don't do anything. And I look, I'm like I forget sometimes that I'm an old man. I forget it sometimes. And then I look at myself on TV and I'm like, oh my God, I forgot. But anyway, August 2nd, I'm in New Orleans at the House of Blues. August 4th, I'm in Houston, Texas at the House of Blues. August 5th, I'm doing a matinee at 3:00 in Austin, Texas, and come and take it live. And the reason that I'm doing the matinee is because after my show, they clear it, and then they open up for Extreme Dwarf Wrestling. Nice. So I'm definitely going to be staying. I'm a huge wrestling fan.
Same.
So I'm going to be staying for that. And then I got a show in Dallas, August 6th. And then I drive 900 miles to Tucson at the Marquee, August 8th. Tempe, Arizona. Tempe's going to be great because I used to do the Cat House in Tempe, and Arizona just rocks. And then August 11th, I'm in Hermosa Beach at St. Rock. And then the following show is August 13th in Hollywood, which is going to be a very interesting show. And I'm really nervous about that show.
Nice. Dude, you just reminded me of one last question, then I'll let you get out of here.
I'm good.
Okay, cool. Well, then, you mentioned wrestling, and I'm as giant a wrestling fan as there is, and John is too.
Yep.
But you were part of WCW in what I'll call the bad years of WCW. I mean,
I disagree.
Come on, man. You were like after the good NWO when they had like everybody was in the NWO something, Wolfpack or
did Kevin Nash. We had Scott Hall.
Yeah, but it was after it. I don't know. To me, it was. I'm not downplaying you. I'm just saying you were in there. What 98, 99 time frame?
I worked the very last WCW event.
Okay, what 2001?
Really? Yeah, I think it was something like it was around the way I remember things. Like I remember 2001 because when Dale Earnhardt died.
Right.
So it was around the same time, and that was something that I never got to do. What I wanted to do, like I always wanted to be a wrestling manager. Because I'm really easy to get people to hate me, and I always wanted to be a wrestling manager. But, instead I'm doing spring break for WCW, telling kids about tough acting to acting. So, it was great. And I kept on trying to work my way into storylines, but it never really played out. But that was when, WCW was still selling tickets.
Yeah.
And the Monday Night Wars were just like, the Monday Night Wars were just gnarly because everybody was trying to outdo each other. And, I think it was it D-Generation at one time went to the WCW on the show.
Yeah,
on
the tank.
Show. So great. It was so great. I still watch wrestling. And
do you watch AEW or no?
I watch both.
Okay.
Okay, if we're gonna talk a little wrestling.
Yeah, we can talk wrestling all night. I'm in.
You're never gonna believe who one of my best friends is. That I talked to him 20 minutes ago, and he's at my house, and we go out on the lake all the time. Is Charles Robinson?
The ref?
Yeah.
Charles is one of. He was at my wedding. I love Charles. Now I also like Chris Jericho a lot. I liked. I think MJF is one of the best in the game.
He's fun.
Yes.
He's great. But my problem with AEW, and I know that a lot of people, and I think that you're probably both of you guys are going to disagree with me on this because everybody knows I'm the furthest thing from this Pollyanna, like happy, everything's nice. I like music and I like bad shit, but I don't like blood. And there's so much, and I don't like people falling in thumbtacks and fluorescent tubes. And I don't like that. And it's not because I'm squeamish, because I like horror more than anything else. I also don't like excessive swearing in wrestling when I swear all the time.
Sure.
Because I want kids to watch wrestling. And I also don't like, and the one little weird pet peeve that I have of wrestling, I don't like when wrestlers say, I'm going to kill you. I don't like that,
Right.
And it's stupid. And the other thing that I don't like now is there's no effort put forward to keep the storylines going after the show. Like now you'll see this guy hates this guy, and then you'll see him doing selfies together. No, I don't like that. In the old days, it wasn't like that. And in the old days, you would never see the baby face and the heel hanging out together. They kept it going all the time. And that's why, I want believability in my fantasy.
Sure.
Yes, I do watch AEW and I watch WWE. And I recently went to a independent match that was really close to me, and there were probably about, I don't know, like maybe 80 people there. And Arn Anderson was there, and he called me Ricky.
Nice.
The enforcer.
And Lodi was there, and he acknowledged me from the stage, and but I never thought, it's things like that. Like people talk about meeting everybody. It was things like when Steven Tyler saw me somewhere and he called me Ricky, or when Arn Anderson called me Ricky, or I remember I'm a big NASCAR. I've worked in NASCAR forever.
Sure.
And I remember the first time I went to a racetrack and Rusty Wallace said, hey, Ricky, I was like, wow, these people know my name. Like that stuff is important. Who was really had an incredible knack of remembering people's names was Ronnie James Dio.
Dude, I tell that story
heard that,
all the time. He knew my name. And it's like, I met him once, and then
that mattered. That really mattered.
Oh,
and I forget everybody's name. I forget where I live. I have no idea of anything. So I brought my friend Troy to go see Dio, and I told him, I'm like, Ronnie, this is my friend Troy. He's a big fan. He's like, oh yeah, thanks. And so after the show, we were backstage, and Ronnie James Dio goes, so tell me, Troy, what'd you think about the show? I'm like, that is the coolest rock star in the world. Right. That is so cool for him to remember my friend's name and then ask him what he thought about the show. Like that's what it's all about.
Yeah, dude, I tell the story about Dio all the time. I met him once. It was the worst time. I used to write for a magazine, and I wrote just a horrible review of Angry Machines because I hated that record. And I think the quote was, seeing Dio now is like watching Lyle Alzado die. I mean, it was really brutal.
I'd love to see what you say about some of the bands that are playing now.
Dude, I love the heavy stuff too. I love the heavy stuff, but I will attack.
The old bands. The old bands that are out touring.
Well, yeah, some of them are just need to stop. I mean, they really do. I get it. They got to make their money, but Jesus, stop just already. But the thing with Dio, I'll just swing it back to Dio real quick. With Dio, I get on the phone with him to do a phoner, and he says to me, he goes, well, maybe you didn't understand. He reads me back my own review, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to get hung up on by the greatest singer of all time. But he goes, well, maybe you just didn't understand. And he tried to explain it to me. And yeah, I never did get it. I still think that album stinks. But at the end of the talk, he invites me down to the show, like a month later or whatever. I go down, I meet him. He's the nicest guy. I meet Wendy. He introduces me to Jimmy Page, who just happened to be playing the next night across the street.
You beat me. You just beat me.
It was insane. So now fast forward, I don't know, 7-8 years or something. And I'm good friends with Rip Owens. I'm here in Cleveland, so I know Tim. And Beyond Fear had toured with Dio. So Tim, I met at a show, and he's like, hey, you want to go and meet Dio? This is when Heaven and Hell was touring. And I was like, yeah, sure. I come walking in. 8 years later, Dio looks at me and goes, Chris Akin. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? This guy just remembered me 8 years later. And it's like, wow. It's just a crazy, that guy's memory was insane.
If I saw you tomorrow, I'd forget you.
Of course.
But that's my problem. I have really, it's amazing the things that I remember. Like if me and my wife were watching a TV show, and then I watched another one the next day, I'm like, I don't remember what happened yesterday.
Right.
I remember like what whiskey tastes like. I remember certain things that happened at the club very vividly, but some things I just can't remember.
Right on. I'm with you on that, man. Well, dude, what I do think people need to remember, One Foot in the Gutter on tour. There's a few more dates remaining. We read the dates a couple minutes ago. Where should we tell people to go to keep up with you, keep up with tour dates, keep up with potentially new tour dates should you decide to do it again?
I don't think so, but I don't know. The beauty is I don't know. I'm sitting here, and in this, I had this discussion tonight. I've been a hustler my whole life. I've always been a hustler. From when I was selling cars in the 2000s to when I had the Cat House. And after the last show, I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And my wife is like, she's like, which is, by the way, my wife is Leah Vendetta, great famous tattoo artist.
Yeah, Ink Masters. Yeah.
She's the best. And she's not even here right now. I'm still saying it. But, and she always says, like, something's going to come up. You always make something come up. And I'm like, but what's going to come up? Like, I'm old. I don't know what to do. She goes, just wait. Something's going to come up. So the truth of the matter is I don't know what's next.
Okay.
But what I'm going to do, which I don't do ever, is I'm going to appreciate where I am right now. And I'm really going to appreciate these shows because these are the most fun I have. And the only thing that's going to make me feel better is if more of you buy tickets to my show and go to cathousehollywood.com. Go to cathousehollywood.com. You can buy Cat House coffee, which is not a licensing deal. It's a real coffee company that me and my wife own. Cat House Headbangers Ball shirts, and you can get tickets to One Foot in the Gutter. And of course, I'm on all social media, but I don't know how long I'll be on Twitter.
You're not staying with X?
I like the name better. I just don't.
Yeah, I'm with you.
People are angry everywhere. They're just angry everywhere. People bitch at me about, like, people go out of their way to be mad about absolutely anything. Like, I just bought a new motorcycle. I mean, I ride more than anybody. Sure. I just bought a new motorcycle, and I bought a Triumph. And I show this picture of this Triumph, which Triumph is a cool motorcycle.
Sure.
You know? And this guy goes, sell that piece of shit, buy a Harley. I'm like, what? People just love saying stupid stuff. I hope people know that when they're 55 years old and they're still commenting about my hair, they look kind of pathetic.
Right.
It's like, dude, oh, you're such a hat. I'm like, motherfucker, I'm still having the time of my life. I'm old. I got everything I want. And you, pathetic human being, are calling me out?
Exactly.
Like, and they don't follow me. I don't go to the grocery store and go to the condiment department and go, hey, mayonnaise, I hate you. I just stay away from it. It's like people look for something to not like and then voice their opinions on it.
Exactly.
And I'm bringing the Cat House Hollywood podcast back too.
Oh, very good, man.
Awesome.
Can't wait for that. When do you have a timeline or no?
Maybe I mean, I'm going to remix the 4 episodes that are there now, and then I'm just going to start releasing a bunch of older ones. But because there's ones that people didn't even hear, I just took them down for some reason. I mean, but then I'm just going to start recording them, and I'm going to change it. I'm going to be more open to all kinds of things, not just what happened at the Cat House, to what people were doing in the 80s in the East Coast, to what, maybe a tattoo show, maybe, who knows? Who knows?
Right on.
It's my show. I can do whatever I want.
Exactly. Well, One Foot in the Gutter is going on for, starts on August the 2nd. It runs for 13 days. Make sure you go if it's anywhere near you. And Ricky, it's been fun, man. Thanks for
it's been a lot of fun. Thank you very much.
All right, Ricky,
Thanks, Ricky.
take care, bud.
Nice to meet you, man.
Bye, guys.
All right, take care. UFM is underwear for men. UFM underwear provides unheard of support, which eliminates the need to adjust yourself throughout the day. This underwear is the perfect fit for work, athletics, or just day-to-day activities. Shop underwear for men now and never be uncomfortable in your drawers again. Shop online at www.bit.ly/CMSPN-UFM today. Underwear for men. I really have to get in there and change that link. Jesus Christ. Even I don't think I could follow that.
Go to xxx.qp4. It's like
dash
a
C/LY-P. It's like, holy cow.
Yeah. That is not a website. That is a Qbert curse.
Yeah,
From that
I was like,
80s
oh my
video game.
God, that's fucking somebody throwing the letters at Scrabble at me. It's like, holy cow. Well, dude, how great was that? Riki Rachtman right off the jump.
That was awesome, and it was fun, man. He's like, before pulling back the curtain before we got on with him, you're like, okay, well, you have a time limit. He goes, yeah, 15, 20 minutes, and there we are, 50 minutes later. Like,
yeah, and he would have kept going. I just was, I don't want to be a rude douche, As it was, I was a rude douche. I took an extra 25 minutes, but
right.
But I didn't want to be like, oh, hey, you stayed the whole 2 hours.
I would have loved to have gotten into that conversation about the 80s bands, like touring now, because when he asked you that, and you're like, they should, the look on his face, I was like, I bet you that would be one hell of a debate right now. He looked like he was a little like, oh really? Yeah. You don't think they should keep going, huh?
And I would engage it. I would definitely. And that's part of the problem. He's still out there where he's got to deal with backlash.
Yeah.
I don't really have any backlash. I mean, what is somebody going to say if I say that they stink now?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not going to do your show anymore.
Yeah. Well, and that was going to be one of my questions that I didn't get to, but I was going to ask him, like, where is the line in telling these stories? He said he's nervous about the Hollywood show because a lot of the people that he's going to be talking about are going to be in the audience. It's like, okay, well, if these are your friends and acquaintances and you knew all these people and this, you're not just slinging shit, like making things up. Like, where is that line to where you don't want to tell that story? Yeah, I mean, and it probably has a lot more to do with like personal relationships. Yeah. Because I know, like, I know things as much as I tell way more than I should. I definitely know things that I definitely do not tell. And I mean, there's definitely times I'll tell you things and 6 months later it comes true and it's like, oh, we sort of knew that was coming. Yeah. We're well in the mix. And I would imagine with Ricky, it probably has a lot to do with personal history. I think that, again, I don't know who he's talking about, but I have a feeling it's Tammy Down from Faster Pussycat, who he shared the Cat House with. I don't know that to be true, but, obviously he had a business with the guy. He had a personal friendship with the guy, and if that fell apart, which the fact that they're not both selling Cat House T-shirts makes me think that maybe it did fall apart since they both were the owners. I mean, if that's the if that is indeed the situation, he's probably still got a personal relationship of some sort. Yeah, and doesn't want to muddy the water and then have the guy show up and be like, "Fuck you, cocksucker! I fucked your wife." Or stupid shit like that. The dam breaks and all hell breaks loose live in front of the audience. I mean, like you said, he's 57. We're too old for that shit now, and that's
I love that he still has the punk attitude, though. I
yeah.
absolutely do love that. And, you know, I'll stand by what I said before, even though he disagreed. He was absolutely a rock star. And he could have been much bigger if he sold himself. He did not sell himself. I mean, he said, yeah, I was always selling T-shirts or this and that. But he could have been like Eddie Trunk. He could have been, and still probably could. I honestly think if the choice was Eddie Trunk, who's done it a million times, or Riki Rachtman, I mean, who would be a better host for the Monsters of Rock Cruise? I'll just throw one out there. Riki Rachtman or Eddie Trunk?
Yeah.
I think Riki Rachtman Riki Rachtman would sell more tickets to the Monsters of Rock Cruise than Eddie Trunk will.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's cool if you're an Eddie Trunk fan. It's cool to see him there. If Riki Rachtman's there, now you're reliving your past.
Yeah.
You know, now it's like, hey, here's Tora, and here's the guy that introduced me to Tora.
Yeah.
You know,
well,
that's
and I think to your point, it's also, I mean, maybe this is a little shallow, but who gives a shit? We're not known for being overly deep, you and I. But I also think it might even come down just the look of the guy, because you know, let's say you're like a 60-year-old dude and you're going to the Monsters of Rock Cruise and you're seeing all these bands from the 80s. You're kind of reliving it. You're like, oh, I remember when I was young. You know, when Eddie Trunk gets up there, he looks like a goddamn science teacher. Okay, let's face it. But if Riki Rachtman gets up there with his fucking mohawk and you know the Headbangers Ball history, is like, okay, that brings you more into that moment, I think. And I think so. I mean, totally to your point, I agree. I agree with you 100% on that.
Yeah, I mean, he could sell himself more than he does. I think he's very similar to me in a lot of ways, in that the hardest part of it, I mean, I do a million things and I do a million things pretty well, but the hardest thing that I do the worst is sell it. You know, because it's like, oh yeah, you know, somebody's be like, oh, the CMS Network, all these shows. Yeah, that's just something I did. You know, it's never like, yeah, you know, I'm in front of this camera 15 hours a week and blah blah blah. You know, it's never that. It's always like, you know, something I did.
Yeah, right.
You know, and I think Rachtman is very much the same way. But dude, a lot of fun talking to him. I could talk. He's awesome. One of those guys that we could have on 15 times and have 15 different shows. He should do a podcast. I would subscribe to that immediately.
As soon as you mentioned, you know, nobody being able to find the updated Headbangers Ball, I was waiting for you to be like, I've got a network.
You knew I was gonna, and I will.
Like, here it comes.
And I will reach out to him too and say, hey, bro, check out the links.
Yeah,
I can definitely give you a time. I can definitely let you sell whatever the fuck you want. I don't care. I would definitely do that. That would be great. So, yeah, very well. Let's see. I would rather have Riki Rachtman than Jose Mangan. Mangan's not. Come on now, metal person. Mangan's not a douche. He's a nice guy.
He's a nice guy. I don't think he's a douche. I think he's kind of he. I don't know. He's not as cool as Riki, I think. You know,
he's a nice guy. That's the problem.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
He's always like, "Hey, everybody! I am so happy to be here, and I am the happy ambassador at Incarnation." And there's not a damn bad bill on the bill, or a damn band on the bill.
Yeah, he's definitely not a douche, though.
No, I mean, I've met Jose a few times. He's really nice, but I would much rather have Riki. I'm with him there, that I would much rather have Riki on the. I would rather have Riki doing a lot of this kind of stuff. You know, I mean, the big problem I think Riki probably has is that it takes him out of his house. You know, I mean, he's not living in L.A. anymore. He lives out in North Carolina, I think, or somewhere. I think he lives out there, you know, so it's not like he's not centrally located to do this kind of stuff anymore.
Yeah.
For him, every time to do, you know, if he's in New York or LA, it's easy to do this kind of stuff. In North Carolina, everything's a plane flight, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, dude, look, StreamYard and everything is digital, so there's got to be a way for it to happen. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I mean, he could, you know, the other thing, and we could have gotten into a whole conversation about this, is that I think that social media, and I don't think it was him that said it. Now I can't remember what he's talking about, remembering shit. I can't remember 20 minutes ago. Somebody said to me, and I don't think it was him now that I'm thinking about it, about the specialness of social media has taken all of the mystique away.
Mm-hmm.
I know who it was. It was the saliva guy earlier today said that to me, Bobby Amaro. But he's right. You know, one of the reasons a show like the Headbangers Ball can't go full bore today is because the specialness of celebrity is gone. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, I don't know about you, but when I watched Headbangers Ball, my two favorites were Pantera, of course, when Pantera went #1 with Far Beyond Driven, and Phil just couldn't stop swearing, which was great. I loved it. I mean, he was just like, motherfucking, yeah, we're #1, motherfuckers. You know, it was just great. And then the other one, which was, it was a cool appearance, but it was so weird, was the White Zombie, Rob Zombie appearance, where Rob just got up and he brought paint with him and painted the studio. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
He just painting shit all over it. It started out as like a black studio. By the time he was done, it looked like a Rob Zombie album cover.
Right.
You know, it was crazy. But I think that's missing now. Like, we know that we know everything about Rob Zombie these days. We know what he thinks. We know who he votes for. We know who he listens to. We know everything about him, to where then you would watch that kind of shit and you'd be like, hey, this is cool. I'm finding out about Rob Zombie. You know, that was cooler. And that's Ricky. Yeah. Ricky was definitely right place, right time for that.
No, I completely agree. I mean, it's, you know, it's that progression of the music industry in general. It's, you know, the mystique is gone in a lot of it, and social media, I think, is the catalyst to it. But, you know, I mean, shit, dude, even going back to old stuff like vinyl and everything, it's not as cool. Yeah. You know, I started collecting vinyl, and, you know, because I want to have, if I have a favorite band, I want it in vinyl. But you know, it's such a different experience. And I remember even like finding tour dates and getting tickets and all that shit. Like back in the day, you had to go to the Ticketron, for Christ's sakes, and wait in a line. You know, when I would find out, you know, one of my favorite bands had a record coming out because I was reading Metal Edge or Kerrang or something like that. I'm like, holy shit, so-and-so's got like a record out. Like, but now everything is so readily available that it's, you know, which always baffles me, because I hear a lot of my friends, you know, they'll be talking about, oh man, so-and-so is on tour. I didn't know that. I'm going, how the hell do you not know that?
Right.
This information is everywhere. You know what I mean? Like, and it's so, yeah, but I mean, social media is the biggest, you know, problem. But it's also kind of a double-edged sword, though, in a way, because, like, you know, I'm obviously a huge Van Halen guy and a huge Sammy Hagar guy.
What? I didn't know that.
Right. But, you know, Sammy started doing this, like, he's, like, using his social media in a better way. It's like, okay, well, now he's telling stories. It's kind of cool to get to know him like that, because some of these guys are so goddamn private that you do want to know. So it is kind of a double-edged sword, you know?
Right. No, it is. It's a different world. You know, it really is. But anyway, real quick, I do want to say hello to all of our Rumblers, as we're calling them now, over on Rumble. We've got as many watching on Rumble as we do on YouTube. So thank you. Thank you for that. And anybody that's watching, I don't have a count on it, but anybody that's watching over at chrisakin.net, thank you for that as well. That is the direction we are going. I will tell, I know a lot of you watch CMS and you've heard this pitch already, but I will tell you anyway. YouTube will be going away with this show as well. I don't care what Eric says on this. I will be getting rid of YouTube as a live platform for everything. And because I hate YouTube. I just hate it. I hate the censorship. I hate the bullshit of it. And, you know, I'd much rather be on places that don't want to throw me off. So move your asses over. Get a Rumble account. Or just watch on Chris Akin. If you watch it, see, to me, this is the best part of it. If you just watch it on chrisakin.net, you can comment directly into the show, just like you do on YouTube, except you don't have to patronize those fucking assholes. So go over there and do it. And from everything that everybody on Rumble tells me, or StreamYard rather tells me, they're almost ready to launch the integration with the comments to Rumble. And when they do that, forget it. Then there's no chance I'll ever be on YouTube again, because right. I just won't. I just will not. You know, I mean, I am fine with sucking the corporate dick a little bit right now because I have to, but I can't wait to move away from it. I cannot wait, man.
Well,
so.
you've had your fun with YouTube, so I think, you know.
What, you mean losing a channel with 6,500 videos? Is that a problem?
Oh my God.
Too funny, man. All right, man. So let's figure out what to talk about. I have nothing planned. I mean, literally nothing. I know me and you are supposed to be going to Pantera on Friday. I don't know. I'm still, as I told you and I told Steph the other day, I am very much a game time decision. My fucking shoulder is still not playing nice, and I just don't know if I can deal with 4 hours of riding and 6 hours of being there. It's just that simple, and I hate it. I hate that that's the position I'm in right now. As you're well aware, and I think the listeners of especially CMS are aware, I've been begging these doctors to just cut my fucking arm open and do whatever they got to do to make it stop fucking hurting, and they just won't do it. You know, it blows. I don't know what it is. They don't know what it is. It's the weirdest fucking goddamn thing, but I don't want to talk about my fucking arm. What I want to talk about is using my third arm. See what I did there?
That's called a segue, kids.
There it is. So for you, I know you're taking our collective stepson. You're taking Dominic for the first time to see Pantera or Pantera of sorts. I do not want to see in any of these chats. It's not fucking Pantera. It's called Pantera. That's what the ticket says. That's why I'm calling it that. That being said, are you excited about getting out there and you got to go to the Schittsburg to see it, but are you excited to go to Pittsburgh to see Pantera?
Well, technically it's not Pittsburgh, it's Burgettstown, so I'm just going to...
Whatever, it's Pittsburgh.
I don't care what you call it. I fucking hate Pittsburgh. But anyway, yeah, I'm fucking pumped up, dude. It's I was actually on another podcast a couple nights ago. It was a Star Wars podcast, but the host and I talk other stuff sometimes. He's a big baseball fan. He's a huge music guy. And he was asking me if I have a musical regret. Okay. And I told him I did, but it wasn't anything like for me. My musical regret is that I was never able to take my stepson to see Pantera when the brothers were alive and they were still, you know, I mean, he was born in 2001, so, you know, they had already broken up by then, so there wasn't even, you know, if not for that fucking asshole in Columbus, Ohio, they would have had a reunion and I could have taken him, but fuck that guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, my biggest regret is I never got to take my stepson Dominic to see the original lineup of Pantera because, I mean, as you are very well aware, the power and brutality and tightness of that band live was absolutely fucking second to none. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I mean, you know this, but for people who don't know, he is so musically diverse. He loves everything. I mean, his two favorite bands are literally the Beatles and Slipknot. So, and whatever you want to fill in the middle, he likes all of that stuff. But he's a huge, huge Pantera fan. And, it's my biggest regret that he never got to see him with Dime and Vinny, especially Dime. But I am super excited for him to see it because, you know, I've purposely stayed away from set list spoilers, which I know it's mostly the common shit we've seen, but I've also stayed away from a lot of videos. I watched, like, the first concert back. I watched a few songs from that. And Jesus Christ, man, like, even with, you know, you'd say the heart and soul of the band gone, if you want to call the brothers the heart and soul, the power of those songs live is just absolutely unfucking deniable. Yeah. And I'm really excited for him to see that and for him and get to be like, dude, if you think this is good, just imagine it with the brothers actually doing this, like the real deal. Right. So yeah, I'm pumped up. It's me and AJ and Steph and Dominic, and then if you go, you know, so
yeah, I'm hoping to. I'm hoping my decision is solely made on tomorrow and Wednesday. If tomorrow and Wednesday I can go without taking a fucking handful of goddamn aspirin, because that's all I'm taking, I should just go get painkillers and just deal with it. But
well, you know why you should go, dude? I mean, it's a perfect night. All you need is good friends and a bottle of pills. I mean,
yeah, that's true.
say, you had one, I get one.
What up?
Anyway, sorry.
I just wish they'd fix this fucking war nerve of mine. Jesus.
this what we're gonna do?
Guess we'll go that route then.
We're gonna let this happen.
Yeah, we'll let it go.
Oh my god.
We're just two
So
cowboys from hell having a good time tonight.
Oh my god. Whatever's fucked up with your arm, I don't know, dude. That fucking thing is shattered, dude. That's all I know.
It is. It really is. I just wish it would stop hurting and it would just let me rise up,
God, this is so bad.
That's what most regular people would want anyway, for their arm not to hurt.
Yeah, I'm trying not to play into this, man. I've got like 5 more on the tip of my tongue, and I'm trying so hard to not derail us with this shit.
Well, if we're going to go all the way down the road, you're going, what, to the amphitheater to see this?
Yeah, well, I am going to go see Phil Ensemble.
That's right, at the amphitheater.
I mean, it's a little divisive.
Well, I'll be seeing him for sure in November with James Hetfield and Metallica.
So have you pretty much decided that you might not stay for Metallica? Because we talked about this the other day. When you're going to see that show, you might leave before Metallica.
There's a good chance that I will.
God damn it, metal person. We're gonna get everybody else going.
It's fine. I'm fine. If anybody else wants to throw them in there, please do.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I'm. If I had to stay, if you were pushing me to it right at this minute, I would watch Pantera and leave.
Okay.
Because and it's such a dumb reason, and maybe I'll get over it once I'm in front of it. There is that thought, but
yeah,
that stage looks shitty to me. It just doesn't look conducive to, I don't know. Part of what I look for in a rock show is the band cohesiveness. And I know musically Metallica sounds as good as they have in a while. I mean, I'm certainly not going to say they sound as good as the 1989, 90, 91.
Oh, dude.
But nobody does. But I mean, they're still busting ass. They're still...
God damn it! Why did we get this started?
But
Son
no,
of a bitch.
I mean, they still sound good. But you know what? As far as I'm concerned, I'll just watch a concert on YouTube. Because at least if I watch it on YouTube, the camera cuts will take away that monster stage.
Yeah.
The stage is so big that it just doesn't look like a really fun show. The stage looks like a track. Do you agree?
Yeah.
It looks like a fucking track.
Like a racetrack, yeah.
Like a racetrack. Like you would see people running the 880 on it or something.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like it's conducive to having a good show. And now maybe I'm wrong on that. I mean, I could definitely be wrong. I don't know. But, it doesn't, right now it's not appealing to me very much. And what does appeal to me is not being driving until 5 a.m. Because if I go to Detroit's what, 3.5 hours roughly?
Yeah, it's about 3, I think.
So we'll say 3 hours. If I leave after Pantera, it'll be 5 minutes alone before I'm out onto the street. If I leave after Metallica, it's probably going to be an hour.
But do you think leaving before Metallica is basically akin to like heresy?
It could very well be.
I mean, it's Metallica's your favorite band. That might leave you feeling kind of hollow, don't you think?
Yeah, it could. It could.
I'm telling you, should not have gotten this goddamn shit started.
If I do leave for Metallica, you might want to look in my car if I crash for my suicide note, 1 or 2.
Oh, why? Oh my god.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. And I know what's going to happen. I'll make the prediction now, even though I'm 100% leaning toward leaving. I'll tell myself I'm going to stay for 2 songs. They'll be good. And then I'll stay for the whole fucking show.
Right.
I know that's what's going to end up happening. Because the other piece of it, too, and this is me being a pussy, but I don't care. If I stay for the beginning, I might as well stay for the end because I don't want to walk out by myself in Detroit. I do not want to be walking out in a fucking parking lot by myself in Detroit.
That's at what, Ford Field?
Yeah.
Okay, I stayed at a hotel that I could see Ford Field like right out my window when we went to see the Guns and Mammoth WVH show.
Okay.
At Comerica, and yeah, it's not great. You do even in broad daylight, the kind of people you see walking around, you're like, this is kind of shady.
Yeah.
So it didn't feel safe, and dude, I don't think that's being a pussy. It's just sometimes like
it'll be a lot safer if I walk out with 60,000 people.
A little bit.
The odds of me catching the bullet are a whole lot less if there's 59,000 other targets.
Right.
Yeah. So
no, I mean, dude, I can't blame you. You mentioned the band interaction being kind of part of the whole show. It's like yeah, because when you think about back in the heyday and stuff like that. I mean, Metallica's a perfect example right now because the other night I was surfing YouTube and a full concert from the Puppets tour came up. And it's fan film, but the dude's in the upper balcony and it's looking down, beautiful view of the stage, and it's one of Jason's first shows, and the guy didn't get really fucked with that much. And dude, the power of that band and the ferocity,
right.
And James, standing next to Kirk, like headbanging his ass off and doing those harmony leads and stuff like that. That is part of it. Obviously, like I said, I'm a huge Van Halen guy, and I always think of Eddie Van Halen and Sammy Hagar goofing off together, in the Live Without a Net video, the concert video. Like, that is how I picture Van Halen, and I think band interaction like that kind of creates that cool moment. You know what I mean? It's like that's why when you look at like stuff like I'll go back to Van Halen. It's the most obvious example that I can think of, but you're watching Live Without a Net and they're just like totally bouncing off each other, and then you go see that Toronto show they recorded in '95 that was supposed to be another live record, and they couldn't give two shits about each other. And you could see it's just not as fun. It's not as cool. So when Metallica's like a quarter mile away from each other on the goddamn stage, like, yeah, you don't get those moments.
Yeah, no, you're right. You don't.
So bad.
People are ready to play that game. That's for sure.
Oh my.
Yeah,
God.
I'm just thinking it's. I don't know. Look, I don't want to think about November though. I really want to. I really, really want to go on Friday.
Well,
and truth be told, I want to go on Saturday as well. But I don't know if I can. I certainly don't think I can handle that ride.
Yeah, I already know Saturday's not happening. So, but I mean, we canceled the hotel for the hotel. What the hell was that kind of pronunciation? We canceled the hotel
pronunciation.
Yeah, pronunciation. But yeah, we canceled the hotel room for Friday night because I'm like, what's the fucking point? Like, if Akin's probably not coming, and we're not going to be sitting there, raging to Pantera, like getting partying. Like, it's only an hour and 40 minutes from my house. Why the fuck wouldn't I make that drive back?
Yeah, well, that's the thing is it's. I feel like the bummer in this thing, but I'd love to go. I want to go. As you know, I've been not going to much, which is very unlike me. I mean, me and Kelly go to fucking 15 things, 20 things a year.
Yeah.
And I've been to, what, 2? 3? 3. Landau, Pissing Razors, and the Michael Francis.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's all I've done in 2023. And that's pretty fucking pathetic.
That's. Are we getting another one of these? Oh my God.
I love it.
I am so sorry that I got that started.
Nah, it's good. It's good.
Oh boy.
All right, well let's change directions a little bit. I know you are a big fan of Derek Sherinian.
Huge.
You do the Dream Theater podcast.
I do.
Talking into Infinity, a Dream Theater centric podcast.
Yes.
I don't want to say it incorrectly. Incorrectly.
Yeah. Which you will be a guest host on Thursday.
I will be guest hosting, so we can talk about the most Dream Theater band in the world, Pantera.
Right.
Yeah, we will. What are we doing? We're doing a Vulgar Display of Power.
Vulgar Display, and it'll be me and you. Brian has the night off, but I have a special guest coming on. He's our very good friend, Mr. Wayne Joyner, who does the entire video production for the Dream Theater tour, but also has done all of John Petrucci's music videos, the most recent 2 albums worth of Dream Theater videos. He's done videos for Arch Enemy. He's done one for Wolfgang Van Halen. He's a very sought-after music production guy, and he's a graphics guy. So he's a huge Dime guy. So the 3 of us will be doing that on Thursday this week. The date will be, what is it, the 27th. July 27th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Because I'm not in front of a camera enough.
Right.
You know,
I couldn't do a Pantera show without you, you know?
Yeah, no. As it should be, but yeah, unfortunately, you might be doing one on Friday. You know, the important one you might be doing without me, and that sucks. I'd much rather blow off the fucking Talking into Infinity than the actual show. But,
right.
But anyway, back to Derek Sherinian.
Okay.
So I don't know if you follow him on X or not. I'm already calling it X because I hate Twitter, but it's the new name, so I'm calling it X. But on X, Derek Sherinian took the best pop shot ever at fucking Ace Frehley. Did you see this?
I did not see this.
It's great. Let me pull it up here. And he's right to do it too, at least in my opinion. I'll get your opinion as a musician. But
well,
here he is. I have studied harmony and music theory at Berklee College via scholarship, but I am having problems analyzing what is happening here.
Oh, is this an Ace solo?
It is an Ace solo.
Oh, boy.
Let me blow it up to full screen. This is Ace Frehley, who's having all kinds of problems on this tour. It looks like his manager gets arrested at one gig for threatening to kill a promoter. He's had... Neely and I did another show that he did that he was just horrible. It seemed like he was drunk or not drunk, but honestly, it seemed like he was on pills or something. I'm not saying he was, but it sure seemed like it.
Would that surprise you?
He's clean as far as I've heard.
Well, yeah, but again, that wasn't my question. Would it surprise you?
Hey, nothing surprises me. Except for this performance that I'm about to play for you right now. I'm going to play it. First time I'm going to play it through just to see how horrified you are, but I also, on the first time I play it through, want to see if you can tell me what song it is.
I was going to ask if we know what song this is. Okay,
we do know what song it is. I know what song it is.
Is it a Kiss song?
It is definitely a Kiss song.
Okay.
And it's one that, as a Kiss fan, you should know.
I do love the classic Kiss records.
I do not, but even I know this song. This is a super common Kiss song.
Okay.
So we'll go with that. Ready?
Okay.
Here we go. Yes?
That's obviously some variation of Detroit Rock City. Oh my God. Like that's honestly, that is every musician's worst nightmare.
What do you think it is? Do you think it's him fucking up? Do you think he picked up a wrong guitar that's like down-tuned or not tuned correctly? A little of both?
My first inclination is to say that it would be the grabbing the wrong guitar thing.
Yeah.
Because when he hits the chord at the very end, if I remember right, I think that's an A, which is an open. And when he hits it, it's lower than the other guys. And he kind of looks like he's fumbling around for notes while that abortion
like
is
he's
going
trying
on.
to find the right sound, like he hears that it's wrong and is trying to find it.
I mean, dude, just the way he's looking around and not rocking at all. It's oh shit, how do I correct this?
What happened?
Yes, I have seen people do that live, and it is like, oh my dear God, Jesus in heaven. I actually had that happen one time during one of my shows, and it was oh my God, like some guy got up to guest with us, and he's a good guitar player, but he was way more drunk than we realized.
Right.
And we go into this harmony guitar solo thing we'd done a few times with him, just jamming around, and he was all over the place. And I literally just walked over and put my hand on the strings and stopped his playing. I was like, no, we're not. No, I'm not having that. Not today, buddy.
You ready to watch this again? It's only 30 seconds.
Here we go.
There's a lot of clanking around in here, too. Sounds like not only him. It sounds like the whole band is like, and again, I'm not a guitar player. I don't know. I don't know what you guys hear like in your monitors or whatever. But if you hear this, do you adapt or do you just try to play through it the way you know how to play it?
For me, because I've actually had this happen, I had it happen just on Friday night. We have a guy, we had a huge falling out with our bass player, as I told you. And the fill-in guy was off by like 1 or 2 notes here and there, and he was trying to figure it out because he was just nervous, and I just kept singing what I knew was the right note. I'm like, just fall in, dude, because it's like if you start trying to sing to that or play to that, it makes it so much worse. Because then other guys don't have an anchor. Like the guy who's lost, you hope he hears you and sees you with confidence and goes, okay, I need to be doing that.
Right.
So this doesn't look like that.
No, this is really bad. But
all
right, let's check it out again. This is Ace Frehley from one of the recent Space Ace tour dates, I guess. So let's check it out.
All right, stop right there. Okay, you notice the one guy's not playing.
Yeah.
But Ace is already out of tune with the bass player.
Yeah.
And so that's a problem.
Who's at fault? Is it Ace? Is it the tech? I mean, who are we blaming here? Somebody got to take the fall here.
Yeah. Well, I wish there was a better camera angle to see like the hand position on a fretboard. I'm going to bet anything that it's not the bass player, because if you're these guys and you're like Ace Frehley's backing band, you're not risking a gig like that, a consistent touring gig, by being a fuck up like that.
Right.
Especially in a song you've probably played on bass 1,000 times.
Right.
So I'm wondering, like I say, maybe it's a different, the guitar was tuned differently, grabbed the wrong one. It does sound like Ace might be like 1 fret higher than the bass player, which is like the worst of the brown notes, because it's like you're almost at that note, but not quite. You can't get there. So maybe he's like 1 fret higher.
Okay.
But then when the other guitar player comes in, it just all goes to shit.
Yeah, let me back up, because this is such a jewel. And how funny is it, me, who is not a Dream Theater guy at all, and I just happened to see this on Derek Sherinian's Twitter.
Well, and he's a pro. Like he's a pro. So if he's like, I don't know what's happening here, like that means there could be a number of different things at play here.
Yeah, and of course that dummy Alex Grossi checked in and said, "It's all rock and roll, man." Shut up.
No, the fuck it's okay. You know
Shut
what?
up.
No, it's not. Sometimes it's shit. Okay, I don't want to fucking hear it's rock. That's not rock and roll. If you paid to see that and that was what you got all night long, you're not leaving the show going rock and roll, man. You're leaving the show going, what in Christ's name did I just pay $30 for?
And some of those people that are there for this song.
Mm-hmm.
It's Detroit Rock City. It's not some obscure record off of the Trouble Walkin' release. It's not something like that. This is probably end of the set, don't you think?
You would either that or the beginning,
or it's either the first song,
yeah,
or last song, or encore.
Could you imagine if this was the opening song? He does like the intro. You're all pumped up for Ace. He comes out and this happens. Could you imagine that? Oh my God, that would be bad. Oh my God. Then you spend the whole rest of the set waiting for him to fuck up again. Yeah, you are on pins and needles. Yeah. All right, let's watch this again, because this is something. Holy smokes. Sounds like they're both off. Yeah, that's the problem here. Is like everybody's off from each other, so it's like, okay, who's right?
All right, but
Look,
I'm asking as a non-guitar player. Don't like as a bad drummer, and I'm admittedly a bad drummer, but as a bad drummer, you only really know one way to play a song. You just play the song.
Yeah.
Is that different in Guitar World? Do you play it differently depending on what you got in your hand?
No. Okay. There's a lot of all the guys I know. They're very into like the feel of the instrument. So they prefer their own guitar.
Right.
But if you have to get up there on somebody else's guitar and like say do a jam, like you could do it. Guitar is a guitar in one way. This is like, what I'm wondering now. I have to think that on a tour, like granted it's Ace Frehley, but I know that on some of these tours, and Eric can confirm or disconfirm this when he's back, but to my knowledge, there might be only one guitar tech on this tour. It's not like the rhythm guy's got his own, Ace has got his own. So maybe it's the guitar tech. He completely fucked up the tuning and handed him each something got confused because those guitars are way the fuck out.
They don't match. I mean,
no.
This part here that we're playing right now, where they both are playing together, it sounds like both guitars are out of tune.
Yeah, well, and the bass is off tune from both of them too.
This is unbelievable. And just think, you probably paid $60-$70 for this.
God bless.
I mean, I don't know that to be true. I don't have any idea what it. There's no chance I would pay for an Ace Frehley show. But if somebody wants to tell us what it costs, please do.
I think it was like $45 last time he was at House of Blues because I looked. Admittedly, I do want to go see Ace one time. He's my favorite member of Kiss.
Well, look at what you can see.
I was going to say, maybe I don't want to see this anymore.
Yeah, I was going to say, you might just want to watch your old DVDs from 1977.
Right.
This is fucking terrible.
Oh, my God. It's so off you can't really tell. Like Derek Sherinian said, like, I can't tell what's going on.
You almost can't tell that it's Detroit Rock City.
Like, Ace's part sounds correct. Like, and in tune. So I'm wondering, okay, is the bass off? Well, no, just his guitar part, I mean. Like, if you took out the bass and the other gets, like, at least when he's just
you
playing
think he
with the bass
sounds
player,
in tune?
Okay, follow me here because you don't play.
Yeah.
If you take that bass guitar out when Ace is like right now, the other dude's just clapping his hands. He's not playing guitar, so it's just Ace and the bass player. If you take the bass player out, if you listen to it's that sounds correct. It sounds like the bass is a little bit off from that.
I think you're dead wrong. I think we need to listen to it again because to me it sounds
wait
like
a minute, though.
Dun, 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 dun.
Okay, but you're talking about when the harmony guitar comes in. When it goes off the rails is when it goes to the that is when he's like ooh.
Let's see it again. We'll figure this out. You think that's in tune?
Okay.
That's this guy clapping, only him playing guitar.
If the riff is being played correctly.
Out of tune.
But now wait a minute. We don't know if he's out of tune or if the bass guitar is out of tune. That's what I'm saying.
That sounds like it's tuned to L.
Okay.
As in way too low.
But he's already tuned low because he's not a high singer and he's got to recreate some Paul Stanley shit when he can. Like,
rip it out.
Dude, it's fucking Ace Frehley. The guy's like 70 years old. He's not tuned in standard 440.
I feel uptight on a Saturday night.
Right? I would love to hear the rest of the song. So that way if we had like context of what.
Yeah, I do wish we had the whole. I don't even know where it's from to look. But all right, let's I'm terribly intrigued by this because it's so bad. This might be the worst I've ever seen by a pro. The only other one I could think of is there was a really bad Michael Schenker about 10 years ago.
I was thinking about that one too. It sounded like he just learned how to play. I was like, what in Christ's name is this?
Where he was clanking around, but he was like high as a kite that night and he was just fucked up. But all right, let's try this again. Here we go. Space Ace.
second guitar is definitely way out of tune.
Way.
That second guitar is definitely fucked.
Dead tech or senior moment.
Yeah, dude. God, I hate to make this reference, but maybe something did happen to the tech. Dream Theater actually had one of the techs on their tour. The guy for Tosin Abasi.
Yeah.
He just died out of nowhere like a couple days ago. A few days shy of ending the tour, and he's just up and croaked out of nowhere.
Boredom?
I think you would have liked Devin Townsend, but
Oh, it was Devin Townsend. It wasn't Dream Theater. All right.
yeah, no, it was
Sorry.
it was Dream Theaters. It was Animals as leaders, Devin Townsend and Dream Theater.
Whose tech was he?
Tosin Abasi, Animals as leaders.
Oh, well, wasn't Dream Theater's tech.
Right. Yeah, that second guitar is way fucking out.
Yeah, in the Rumble, they're saying that you could see the bass player trying to nudge Ace and tell him, hey, straighten up, fuckwad. See if we see that.
Let's see it.
Yeah.
Oh, right there, yeah.
Yeah. He's definitely like, hey, I don't know what he's saying. He's probably saying, fix it, dummy.
Yeah, dude, honestly, the whole tech thing, but if you're a guitar tech, like, how do you fuck up two guitars that wildly?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the only thing I could think of is like I say, like he's got guitars tuned to like one might be D all the way across, one might be like E flat all the way across. Whatever. I'm not great with the notation stuff, but that's the only thing I could think of is that he set these guitars up and handed both of them an incorrect goddamn guitar. Which might make sense when you consider, like I was saying earlier, like when it sounds like the bass player and Ace are one fret off. That's what tuning. If you do a 440 tuning and then go to an E flat, that's basically what it is. It's like a one note difference, kind of, if you want to phrase it that way. So that would make that horrific brown sound.
Maybe John Ostronomy should be threatening the tech instead of the club owners. I mean, jeez, oh man. No offense, John. I still love you.
Oh, Jesus.
We're past our war now. We have no hate anymore.
Yeah. I can't even, dude, when that other guitar comes in, it's like, oh my God.
I love it. It sounds great. Let's hear it again. I can't get enough of this.
This is staggering to me. This is seriously every musician's worst dream.
Yeah,
like,
this
it's
is
their worst nightmare. Like, because it's like when there's no way to correct this.
And especially if you're a national artist now, because what we're doing right now just happens.
Yeah,
everybody hears it, and everybody's like, "What the fuck?"
Oh, God, the only time I've heard shit like this is with a broken string. Like if someone breaks a string, they can't help it then. But this is not the case.
No, this is just bad. All right, here we go.
See, there he's hitting an open chord and it's low.
Yeah. Oh.
I think this is probably also a lot of they hear it and they're like, oh shit, what fret should I be on to make this sound good?
Right. Oh, it's just poor.
Oh,
so after seeing that, do you still want to see Ace?
Now I kind of want to see if it happens again. Yeah.
Now you're like, yeah, $45 and this could happen? Fuck yeah.
I'd be texting from the show. You won't believe what just happened. It really happened. All I know is that somebody doesn't have a job today. Somebody does not have a job.
All right, but they're out on a small tour. Can they fire somebody in the middle of the tour like that?
It's fucking Ace Frehley. He doesn't think about that. He thinks there's a fuck up. I look like an asshole. You're out of here, dude. Remember, he was out and he did that thing. The whole reason he has this backing band, who are excellent players, by the way, is because they were Gene Simmons' band, and Ace and Gene did those solo shows together out in Europe or something, or maybe it was just one. And when Ace heard Gene's band after the show, they got back to the States, and Ace fired his entire band and hired Gene's entire band.
Yeah.
So of course he could fire a goddamn guitar tech on the fly or whoever. Like, he doesn't care.
Yeah, I agree with Far here in the chat. Why not just stop the show, have a laugh, and get it sorted? Agree.
Yeah, dude. But you know what it is? Like, people People absolutely will not tolerate that. I still catch shit from the Brother Believe Me guys because we were playing out at Put in Bay one time, and it was nothing but an older crowd in front of us. And the guys had front-loaded the set with all this pop music, like fucking Imagine Dragons and Neon Trees and all this crap. And, I mean, you want to talk about going over like a fart in church. And finally, after like 8 of these songs, we're in the middle of a Neon Trees tune. And I just go, stop, 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 stop. They look at me with like venom pouring out of their ears. I'm like, play some goddamn Tom Petty. And then the place started rocking. But I have not lived it down till this day because you never stop a song. That is like an unwritten rule.
Yeah,
but in a case like this, I'm with Far.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to make the argument the other way. If Detroit Rock City, and for me, as a very casual Kiss fan, like not a huge fan, Detroit Rock City is one of the songs I would want to hear.
Yeah.
And if they played it like shit and it just tried to gloss over it like it didn't happen to be shit, I would be furious. I'd be much happier if they got to this solo and were like, don't know what happened, but this is fucked up. Let's do it again. You guys want to hear it again? Woo!
Yeah.
You know, and that would be better. And then if it sounded really good, then you'd be like celebrating. I guess the negative of that was, what if it doesn't sound really good and it sounds like that again?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Well, that's definitely not a playing thing because Ace is actually fretting the notes in the proper position.
Right.
So it's definitely, you know, a tuning thing. And I think you can hear the other guy trying to find what note to harmonize with him on, because he goes a couple different ways with it.
Right.
So yeah, this is, oh my God, like
pretty poor.
I've never heard something like this happen at especially with an artist of this caliber.
Yeah.
Like, say what you want about him. I mean, he's world famous. I mean, you would not expect this to happen at a show like this, you know.
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, it's really bad, but all right, let's move forward here. Well, that's enough beating down on Ace, don't you think? Let's go to another band that you like. Guns N' Roses.
Oh, we're
I
gonna
like
do some
them.
Axl or something.
You like them? Nothing bad. Not even bad performance. But
okay.
So, a story came out today.
Okay, yeah.
That Axl or Joe Rogan was in Rome or somewhere.
Yeah.
And
Greece.
he ran into Axl at some restaurant or something. Just chance meeting, I guess, you know. He ran into Axl Rose. And nothing crazy about the story or anything. This might take 1 minute, but I just saw this. I was like, what the fuck? Did you happen to see the picture?
I knew exactly where you were going, yes, and I thought the same thing you did. Joe Rogan is like all excited, like, I met Axl, nicest guy ever, and then pull up the picture, like, let's see if Axl looks like he's into this.
Axl looks like, why are you bothering my dinner, you fuck?
Yes. It's like,
Axl's like, fine, take the fucking picture.
I know. Oh my! I had the same reaction when I saw that. I was like, "Oh my God, Axl could not give a fuck less."
I mean, it's like he's not intimidated by Joe Rogan. He's Axl Rose. He's one of the biggest fucking celebrities in the world. So to him, it's just another dick fan with his arm on him.
Right?
You know, I'm sure that's what it is. He's probably just just trying to have some dinner with his chick, and this fucking bald-headed fucking douchebag, this Spotify star, is coming up to glom onto him. I'm sure that's how he looks at him too. Don't you think?
Yeah.
This social media guy.
Yeah, podcaster guy.
Yeah, this podcaster wants to. I guess he doesn't know that I don't do podcasts.
Yeah, when you mentioned Guns N' Roses, I thought it was going to be either this or the Richard Fortus Nuno Bettencourt story. So,
well, we could talk about that one too, because fucking once again, Nuno Bettencourt comes off like the absolute cock that he has proven to me to be. He is an asshole.
Yeah, oh my God, he did that awesome interview recently with Rick Beato. It's on YouTube, and I loved it. It's fantastic. But this whole thing, talk about blowing it out of proportion. Oh my God.
Well, he's a douche anyway. And for those that haven't heard my Nuno Bettencourt story, I will tell it again because I have no problem running down guys that are assholes. I have no problem reminding people. This was, holy shit, probably 2001, I guess. So 20 years ago, 20 whatever years ago. But fucking, remember the DeMarco brothers in Cleveland?
Yeah.
Freddie and Johnny DeMarco?
Yeah.
For people that don't remember the DeMarco brothers, which is probably most that are listening, they were two local guys that were absolute virtuoso guitar player guys. Cleveland's had a few. Neil Zaza comes to mind as well.
Yep.
Neil Zaza is probably the most famous of the virtuoso guitar guys to come out of Cleveland.
Isn't Paul Shortino, or is he a guitar? Like,
He's a singer.
Who's the dude with Taylor Swift? Isn't some guitar player with Taylor Swift out of Cleveland as well?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh. Well, in either
Don't know
in either
much
case,
about
you're not
Taylor
wrong.
Swift.
Neil Zaza and the DeMarco brothers. Sorry.
Yeah. So anyway, the DeMarco brothers were these two great guitar players. And when I started my music magazine, Music's Bottom Line, way, way back at the beginning, I was partnered in it with a guy named Scotty Campana. And Scotty and I started Music's Bottom Line again. Scotty was the money. I was the everything else, basically. And Scotty had a recording studio that he built, and he had a marketing company that he built, and he was trying to get into the rock world, but he had no idea in the rock world. It was funny. His record company had Gerald Levert on it, and all these R&B guys. I met a ton of famous R&B guys because the original Music's Bottom Line studio was out in Lorraine. That's where the office was. It was the recording studio. And I had my own office in the recording studio. So I was constantly, hey, there's Luther Vandross's tech, or whatever. I was constantly meeting R&B guys, which was cool. For me, it was great. But he was trying to get into the rock world. So one of the bands that he signed was Freddie and Johnny DeMarco. And my job was to kind of help guide them a little bit. So I don't remember if I got them on this show or maybe I made a phone call, but they got on the show. But Nuno had a solo record called Schizophonic or it might have been Schizophrenic or Schizophonic or something. Mm-hmm. He had this solo record that came out, and he was on tour playing at the Odeon. And so I don't remember if it was me or if the DeMarcos, but I was there. I was there in a quote unquote sort of management capacity. Not really the manager, because I wasn't collecting checks or anything, but I was Scotty's guy that was there. And you remember this, but people won't. The way the Odeon was set up was you have a stage, and then on stage right, as you're facing the stage, there's steps that go up. And up, you go up those steps, and right there's a little, the artist green room.
Yeah. But
it's the only green room that they have. The only other place where they used to make the local bands go was downstairs into that little, it was like a closet.
It's where all the
equipment.
Gear, put your drum cases and guitar cases and shit down there. Yeah.
And if you were a local band, you got to stand next to everybody's drum boxes and stuff. That was that was your green room. So, in any event, this show was just the DeMarcos and Nuno. So while the DeMarcos were on, I was standing on the steps, not on the stage, but there's no off stage to this place. You're either on stage or you're on stairs going up or down. That's it. There's no enough side stage or curtain or anything to block this off. So I was standing on the steps, up the steps high enough so that I wasn't in frame if people were watching the set. So Nuno comes out and he just comes walking down the steps and he fucking pushes me. And he's like, "Get out of fucking way." And back then, angry Chris wasn't putting up with that kind of shit. And I literally turned on him. I was like, what did you fucking say? You know, I just like snapped. And he's like, get out of the fucking way. And then me and him started yelling at each other. And I was like, you know, dude, fuck you, man. You know, and I just got right up in his face and was just fucking, fuck you, you dickhead. And I mean, no punches were thrown or nothing. No even pushing or anything like that was done. So I don't want to make it sound like I'm some badass and I kicked Nuno's ass or whatever. It wasn't like that. It was just a, you know, he got shitty with me, I got shitty with him right back type of a thing.
Right.
But I never forgave it. And it's a shame for me because I absolutely love his playing. I'm a big fan of Extreme. But I've never gone back to see anything that they've done again because I fucking can't stand Nuno.
Yeah.
So, and I've talked to numerous musicians that know him that have said that he's a first-class dickhead. So, that is what I've heard about Nuno Bettencourt.
That does not surprise me.
So, seeing this story here this week did not shock me at all. I mean, what a douche. I'll put it up on the screen here.
Yeah.
I mean, here it is. Nuno Bettencourt responds to Richard Fortus over Slash comments. Now, here's the thing. Richard Fortus was Nuno before Nuno with Rihanna, right? He was Rihanna's guitar player.
Yeah.
He's also been the guitar player for Guns N' Roses for how long? 20 years?
Yeah.
He's not a hack. Let's just put it to that level. Is he a great guitar player? I don't know. I'm going to assume he probably is. Do you think that's a fair assumption?
Well, if you're doing Rihanna and Guns N' Roses, you've obviously got clout enough to get two of the most high-profile gigs on the planet, so you've got to know what you're doing. We'll just phrase it that way.
Yeah. You don't see CeCe DeVille getting this gig.
Right.
That's my point. You only see guys that can really, really play. This is the kind of work that guys that may not be super famous, but are known to be super good, like a Monty Pittman. Monty Pittman is a great guitar player that a lot of people don't know. Not the most energetic interview in the world. Holy smokes. But a great player. And you know, and obviously he plays for Madonna and whatnot. And Nuno's a great player. I don't want to say nothing bad about the guy's playing. The guy is a fucking... In that time period, he was near the top. He wasn't in the Eddie Van Halen camp, but he was right there with the George Lynch camp. However far down you put that.
And right now with that new Extreme album, that's all any guitar players are talking about.
Yeah, it's great.
I know all my guitar buddies are like, holy shit, Nuno on the new fucking Extreme record is incredible. That Rise solo that he did is just like, oh my god. So
yeah, I mean he's a great player, but he's a monumental cock.
Yeah,
and he comes off as a monumental cock in this thing. So let me see, how does this play out in this thing? In a recent interview with Planet Rock, the Extreme guitarist opined that many of the guitar players he looks up to, including Slash, would not be able to handle the musical diversity of a Rihanna concert. Stop. Just stop. You're going to tell me Slash couldn't do this?
I understood what he was kind of saying. Because you know there's a lot of diversity, and some guys stylistically, there is a difference between just being able to play notes and playing them properly with the right feel for that genre. So I understood where he was coming from with that.
You do remember that Slash almost got the Poison gig.
Okay, now wait a minute. That's not exactly like high praise, dude. Come on.
No, I know, but I'm not saying it's high praise. What I'm saying is it's completely different sound than Guns N' Roses. Stylistically different.
Dude, I can play a lot of the Poison shit, so let that tell you.
What I'm saying is there's nobody comparing Poison to Guns N' Roses guitar wise.
Yeah, but I mean he says it right here. You know, he says when somebody like Rihanna reaches out to you to perform, everybody thinks, "Oh, that's cute. It's a pop artist, whatever." Let me tell you something. What I had to do night after night, put on a reggae hat for one song with a reggae feel, go into R&B, then go into some punk rock and pop rock that she did, and then club tracks, all sorts of things, all those different feels. I'm sorry, most of the guitar players who I admire could not in their lifetime play that gig. I mean that in the most complimentary way possible. So, yeah, I mean, what he's talking about is it's a very big jump. So you're talking about a rock band to a rock band, but what he's talking about is going from like playing like Dirty Heads to fucking Guns N' Roses or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, so, and I understand
and
that.
here's where I'm going to say he's full of shit. There's a little band out there that everybody's aware of that takes the most heavy guitar players and turns them into playing all kinds of different stuff. TSO.
Not the same. It's still all rock.
It's very similar. Have you seen TSO?
Yes.
The actual Christmas part of it is not all the same.
Okay,
The rock parts are, but when they're doing the dude coming out and doing the bit with the snow and stuff, that's like contemporary AOR music.
I mean, okay, it's close, but I think for the examples he's giving, like using reggae and club music up against like thrash, like what he's saying is more extreme than what you are. I mean, I get where
agree.
you're going.
I agree.
I get where you're going.
But this dude needs to shut the fuck up is really what I'm saying. I don't care. I don't care about that you can play a reggae solo. You're not that fucking special. You're not. There's a reason that Slash is Slash and you're fucking playing side gigs when your main band is broken up for 10 years at a time.
Right. Well,
There's a reason.
And the thing of it is, like, the main point about this whole thing is that, he goes and says this, and no matter whether you agree immediately saying Slash could totally do it, okay, maybe he can, maybe he can't. But the whole thing is, like, this whole beef now, it's only on, Nuno's side. Richard Fortus comments back in the most, like, it's such a, I mean, it's unbelievable. He says, I have to respectfully, this is Richard Fortus responding to Bettencourt, saying that, like, no offense to Slash, like Slash is one of the greatest rock guitar players of all time, but I guarantee, and he'd be the first to tell you, that if he jumps up and he's got to play a clean intro to Rude Boy from Rihanna, it ain't happening. And then Richard Fortus just kind of tweeted out or something. He says, I have to respectfully disagree. Nuno Bettencourt is one of the greats for sure. However, there's very little Slash couldn't do on guitar if he wanted to. I toured with Rihanna prior to Nuno, and I've spent a lot of time playing with Slash. This gig would not be a struggle for him. And
this is a guy that's done, and let's break it down.
Yep.
This is a guy that has done the Nuno gig and watches Slash play every night for 20 years.
Yeah.
This guy, come on. He certainly knows more than stupid-ass Nuno,
Well,
at best got to fucking play a gig in front of Slash and then run out to the side stage to watch him play.
Yeah, right. And not only that, but, like, Richard Fortus's response was polite. It was like, oh, I get what you're coming from. I get where you're coming from, but yeah, dude, I know Slash and he could do it. That's literally all he was saying.
Yeah.
And Nuno just puts this guy on complete unnecessary blast.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'll let you read.
Right. So, well, I knew this was eventually coming. You can't be blessed and be on multiple guitar magazine covers at a shocking 56 years old, get this much attention for your playing a new album as a rock guitarist without another guitarist stirring up some shit. Let's just take that right there. Stop stroking yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, that's that right there. I'm on guitar covers. I get all this attention from my playing, and that means other people are going to stir up shit. Like, shut the fuck up, man. Like, you don't
You're still the guitar player for Extreme, dude. You're not Joe Perry. I know you're friends with Joe Perry, but you ain't Joe Perry.
The ego is just crazy. That's the first thing I noticed.
George Lynch gets put on a whole bunch of fucking guitar magazine covers as well. And George Lynch is a better player than Nuno Bettencourt.
Well, and Nuno Bettencourt's idol is Eddie Van Halen. It's like, take some fucking notes. Eddie never walked out there with his dick in his hand. It's like, just stop it.
Unbelievable.
So he says, I'm responding to this not because I give a shit about what this guitarist thinks about me, but instead...
Except that you're responding to it, so you do give a shit. But go ahead.
But instead, because I'd hate to think my few words offended a hero of mine, Slash, and possibly fuck up my relationship with him. Richard Fortus, I've respectively never heard you play one note in my 56 years of being alive, and only know your name from the Rihanna camp and as a replacement player in Guns. I'm sure you're a decent player, but did you really need to repost a headline that made me look like I am bad-mouthing a fellow player, Slash? As if I'd ever think Slash is incapable of playing any Rihanna song in his sleep. Then why did you say he wasn't?
Yeah, you said it.
You're completely going against what you fucking said.
And I'm going to call into question. I'm going to go backwards here. I'm going to call into question that he's never heard him play a note in his life. Because you're going to tell me that when Rihanna was bringing him in, they didn't hand him all the Richard Fortus tapes and say, here, play this?
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well,
Shut up.
And if you're such a big Slash fan and shit, you're going to tell me you haven't gone to a Guns N' Roses show and seen it?
Yeah.
You haven't seen Richard Fortus? Like, that's bullshit.
Nice fandom, dickhead.
Yeah, exactly. So he says, let's get something fucking straight. To me, Slash is one of the greatest rock guitarists of my generation and of all time, period. And Richard Fortus, if you knew me at all and where my heart is, you'd know that what I meant in this statement was not about Slash or his capability. It was about rock guitarists like myself or Slash switching genres and the awkwardness of playing these feels. No shit Slash can play these songs. Thank you so much for pointing that out, as if we didn't already know that.
You said he couldn't do it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry. Dude, scroll back up. We'll read that again. Like when he said,
Where's it at?
Keep going a little further. Yeah, so it says, Slash is one of the greatest rock guitar players of all time, but I guarantee, and he'd be the first to tell you, that if he jumps up and he's got to play a clean intro to Rude Boy from Rihanna, it ain't happening. He says right there, if Slash had to play that Rihanna, he can't do it. So scroll back down, and he denies it twice.
Down here he says, I didn't say that.
Yeah. He says, no shit Slash can play these songs. Thank you so much for pointing that out, as if we didn't already know that. But for me, as a predominant rock guitarist,
Shut up.
I'm obviously not as talented as you, and found it a challenge to nail all the different pockets and guitar tones of genres like reggae, R&B, electric dance, trap, and pop. It's okay, so he continues. It's like, as far as you shining a light on my ridiculous statement that Slash would struggle, yes, a poor word choice on my part. I personally would hope that Slash, who is a peer in influence, would be more mature enough to understand what I truly meant as a guitarist by that comment. Why do you keep digging on this guy? All he said was, hey, man, I disagree. Slash could do it. That's literally all he fucking said.
That's all he said. Yeah. He didn't say, and you're a piece of shit. I did, but he didn't. Fortus didn't say nothing to warrant this fucking ridiculous nonsense here.
No. I mean, in mentioning Slash as an iconic rock example, I meant in general a rock guitarist would find it not a struggle, but feel like a fish out of water as a player. That's all I meant. I've had nothing but respect and admiration for Guns N' Roses and Slash. Okay, well, look, man. Yeah, apologies if I've unintentionally offended anybody. Well, you didn't offend anybody. You just acted like a complete dick.
Yeah.
I mean, when I saw the headline, Richard Fortus or Nuno Bettencourt responds to Richard Fortus or something, I was like, did Richard Fortus absolutely slag Nuno Bettencourt? What the hell happened here? And then I read it. I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me.
And even more to the point, Richard Fortus has been in the limelight for 20 years. Have you ever read a Richard Fortus fucking article?
No.
Never. I mean,
No.
This is not a shit stir guy.
No.
He's not. I mean, he's been in Guns N' Roses, a band known for stirring shit. And you haven't heard peep one out of this guy in 2 decades.
Right.
2 fucking decades. And he says one thing, mildly as could be. I respectfully disagree. What a dick.
Yeah. I mean, all he has to do is come out and go, you know what, dude? Yeah, if it sounded like I was ripping Slash, I apologize. I just meant that as a rock guitar player. He admits, he says he's predominantly a rock guitar player. He says, as a rock guy, it's just difficult to go from genre to genre. That's all I meant. If you took offense, I meant Slash. My bad. That's all you have to say. Like,
how
what
about
is all this other shit?
I think that's too much that he has to say. Know what he really had to say? Nothing. Because all Fortus said was respectfully, I don't agree with you. Okay, end. somebody saying they respectfully don't agree with you does not require 4 paragraphs about why this guy was a poser in your current boss's band, and this guy couldn't play as well as you, and you're just trying to create a wedge between me and my pal, and fuck you.
Yeah.
On every level, fuck you.
Yeah.
What a dick.
Yeah, it was so needless.
It was pointless. And I hate it. You know why I hate it? Because I don't know everybody in that band, because I don't know who the drummer is anymore. But I've interviewed Gary several times. Nicest fucking guy in the world.
Yep.
I've interviewed Pat Badger. I interviewed Pat Badger not even that long ago during the pandemic. Nicest guy in the world. In fact, he was doing interviews. He ran out of time and said to me at the end, he's like, "Do you want me to call you back in like an hour or so? We could do some more." Because he was he's just like a nice guy. And I mean, so I guess in every band there's one cocksucker, and
right.
Apparently that might be Nuno. I don't know.
What do you mean apparently might be?
Well, got to say that to keep it legal here.
Well, allegedly.
Yeah. In my opinion, a fucking asshole dickhead. I mean, look at this fucking response. Are you fucking kidding me?
That is so pointless.
Are you?
Look, I'm sure you're a decent player. Shut up.
Shut up.
That the veiled digs are just so poorly veiled.
Yeah. Yeah, he's fresh out of fucking rock and roll band camp, dummy. He graduated yesterday.
Yeah.
From rock and roll. What do they call that? Rock and roll. Is that rock and roll band
fantasy camp?
Fantasy camp.
Yeah.
I'm sure he graduated from his job working at the pharmacy.
He's got his Mel Bay guitar theory books under his arms. He's running into the Guns gig, like tripping over his own shoelaces.
Yeah.
I'm here.
He's grabbing his $200 Epiphone, his only guitar he owns. Let me get up here. Yeah.
It's tuned like the Ace Frehley guitars.
Exactly. Holy smokes, what a dick.
Oh, God, so fucking pointless.
And no offense, but anytime you sign your name with just a letter, you're an asshole.
Yeah, right.
That too. Signed N. You know an N? F-U.
Yeah. You can't be bothered to type those other 3 letters, can you?
Yeah.
Fingers a little sore from all that guitar wizardry, pal?
That's from all this typing.
Right. It's just ran out of strength.
What a cheese dick fuck. Allegedly. All right, and on that fun note, that is going to do it. Believe it or not, that was a quick 2 fucking hour. This is a lot quicker than the CMS, isn't it?
Yes.
You start, you're done.
Exactly. Well, it helps having almost an hour with Riki Rachtman to begin the whole thing.
Yeah,
so.
made it easy. So, all right, well, we are done. Tune in next week. Eric will be back. We will have Bruce Sisk, who has a charity that is coming on, and he's a friend of Eric's, so we will talk to him. He knows a lot of people. We will get a lot of rock stories from that. For those of you that follow along with Chris Akin Presents, the release at midnight tonight in 2 short hours will be the one and only Mr. Jeff Scott Soto. Did a fun interview with him, talking much stuff about much stuff. So he's always fun. Wednesday on Seth Williams' show, we will have CJ Pierce from Drowning Pool will be on the show. So Thursday I will be with just never stops. Yep. Thursday, John and I will be back again on Talking Into Infinity, a Dream Theater-centric podcast. Talking a little bit of Vulgar Display of Power, doing a deep dive into that. Friday, John will for sure. I may or may not be at Pantera in Pittsburgh.
It's Burgettstown, goddammit. I hate Pittsburgh.
And let's see. Saturday, I will be back on the CMS. For sure, I would think. And then Monday, we start all over again. Oh, my God.
This is what you wanted. Be careful what
you
wish for.
Hey, I'm not complaining. I'm making a living doing music, so I'm not complaining, but I will say I'm tired. But anyway, that is going to do it for us. So, for Chris Akin Presents, I am Chris Akin.
I'm Jon Drake from Talking Into Infinity, a Dream Theater-centric podcast.
And we are done. See ya!